Liz asked us today to talk to you guys about senior citizen frauds, scams, that kind of stuff. You know, through my 20 years at the department, I've worked several cases of senior citizens getting duped out of their money. You know, you guys get to your age, you've all retired, you've saved up your money, and there's nothing worse than seeing a senior citizen lose their money to some scammer. And majority of the time, those scammers don't live here in the country, which makes it hard for us to prosecute them. Because they don't live here, it's hard to prosecute them. You know, it's one of those crimes that, as a law enforcement officer, it drives us nuts because we can't do anything about it. And you know, if somebody gets duped out of their money, we feel bad, and that's about all that we really can do about it. But so today I'm going to give you guys, there's 5 different big scams that we see across the country nationwide. The first one's where the IRS or Medicare or Social Security will call you guys and say, hey, you need to do this, this, and this, or we're going to cut your services off. We're going to cut your benefits or whatever it may be. A lot of times with those scams, they'll want you to maybe go to Walmart and buy $1,000 worth of prepaid credit or debit cards, that kind of stuff. If that ever happens, don't fall for it. Anytime, I know I just got done filing my taxes not too long ago. I understand you guys are doing that here too. You know, if you owe the government money, they're going to send you a bill. They're not going to call you on the phone and say, hey, you got to go to Walmart and buy a prepaid gift card in order to pay this bill. So that should be a huge red flag. Some of the other ways, they might tell you to transfer money into an account. Again, the government is going to send you a bill. Don't ever give your credit card or that kind of information out to somebody over the phone. Another big scam we see is you get telemarketers will start calling, and a lot of times they use a program and they can dial hundreds of phone numbers at one time. So I always tell people, if you get a phone call, and a lot of cell phone companies now, if you get a phone call and it's not one of your contacts, a lot of times it'll say spam risk on top. Don't answer those. Because if you don't answer their phone, you can't be scammed. And sometimes there are apps out there that people can disguise their phone number, and they can even use certain area codes. Like for the government, you know, I think 202's Washington, D.C., they can actually put out a fake number, and you might think it's actually the government calling you from Washington, D.C., that kind of stuff. So I always tell people, if you get a phone call and you don't recognize the number, let it roll over to voicemail. If it's important enough, they will leave you a voicemail, and you can call them back. If you do answer the call and you kind of think, this guy might be scamming me, I'm not 100% sure, just tell the guy or the gal on the phone, hey, I'm in the middle of something very important right now. If I can have your name and number, I will call you back when I'm available. Now, in the meantime, you could get on the internet and do a Google search or an internet search, and sometimes those phone numbers, if you do the right searches on them, they'll come back as scam numbers. Because if you ever get scammed, and we always tell people, if you get scammed, call the Federal Trade Commission. They track all those scams. You can go to their website, or you can find their 1-800 number and report those numbers, and it all goes into a database so that when somebody calls or when somebody's searching the internet to see if this is actually a scam or not, that information is already in there. Another scam we see is, they call it the grandparent scam. You know, we put too much information out there on social media, and I'm just as guilty as the next person. You know, you may click on somebody's Facebook profile and they have all their nieces and nephews or grandkids listed in their profile. You know, a scammer can get on Facebook too, if you don't have the right settings, and realize, hey, Tiffany is John's granddaughter, so I'm gonna have somebody call on Tiffany's behalf and pretend that maybe she's in jail and she needs money to get out of jail, or she's in the hospital and somebody may be posing as a doctor. You know, just be careful. You know, if somebody's calling and say, hey, Grandma, this is Tiffany, I just got arrested, I'm in South Carolina, ask Tiffany some questions. Hey, what's your mom's name? You know, kind of built into those security features. And you know, you can even do some of that even beforehand with your family. You know, like, you know, if your granddaughter actually lives in South Carolina or wherever the case may be, you know, you can set some parameters up with them. If they do need help, this is the way to do it, not just do it this way. What's another scam? What's that? Yeah. Oh yeah. So it kind of goes with the government one. We had I think the sheriff's office. We do a very good job of putting out press releases of scams when we do get them. There was one not too long ago that somebody was posing as a deputy. Hey, you need to go do this and this, or we're going to come arrest you. We at the sheriff's office, Marion PD, Gas City PD, we're not going to call you on the phone and say, hey, you got to do this, this, and this, or we're going to come arrest you. We'll just come knock on your door if you got a warrant. We're not going to give you a heads up. Because if we give you a heads up, if you're smart enough, you're not going to be there when we get there. So don't ever fall for that kind of stuff. Yeah. So does anybody have any questions about scams? Yes, ma'am.
I've got people calling me, well, you've called me. I was returning your phone call.
Yeah.
And that, like, they're using our number for the scam.
Yeah.
And I noticed that some of our numbers, it'll have a number that looks identical to a number that I called, but the area code's not right.
Yeah.
So you have to really look at your numbers before you pick up your phone.
Yeah, there's an app you can actually put on your phone. I don't know what the name of it is, but you can go into that app and it'll dial numbers for you, but the number that it's saying it's coming from your phone is a different number than yours. So a lot of times those, the scammers, they're pretty smart. I think some of the statistics that I read before I came here today, in 2022, there was $3.1 billion scammed out of people a year. $3.1 billion, that's a lot of money. And also with that, from 2021 to 2022, it was like an 82% increase of the amount of money that was scammed from people. So these scammers, they're smart. They'll maybe send out 100 phone calls at one time. They're just looking for that one person to give them some money. So again, if you don't know that number, let it roll over to voicemail. There's things you guys can do to protect yourselves. So, any other questions?
Matt?
Yes, ma'am.
I talked yesterday to someone at Star Bank, and just recently they've had a huge influx of people impersonating them through text messages, and they're actually on the internet, and they're actually using Star's logo and texting people that they're from the bank and they need them to update their information and put their information in the system, and they're getting ripped off a lot of money. It's not just seniors, it's just a lot of their customers are getting ripped off.
Yeah.
So she said to be extra careful. They would not text you to ask you for information, nor would they call you on the phone. And I think all the banks operate that way. So if you have that, make sure you steer clear of it or don't provide them with any information.
Yeah, if somebody, from the government, one of the other scams that I just thought of was a lot of times computer, like technology kind of stuff, like Norton antivirus, somebody from them will pose, or Microsoft, like, hey, your subscription's about ready to run out. Give me your credit card, we'll renew over the phone. Don't ever give anybody your credit card information over the phone, because 9 times out of 10, they're probably already sitting in a computer. You're giving them your credit card number, and they're typing it into whatever Amazon or whatever they're buying stuff from, and before you know it, they hit enter, and then now they've bought stuff with your credit card. So don't ever give anybody your credit card number. Again, if it's a legitimate business, they're going to send you a bill. It's a piece of paper, or you might get an email from them, something that you've done in the past with them, something that you've set up with them. Don't fall for, hey, we can just take care of this over the phone real quick, just give me your credit card number and your problems go away. Maybe you won't hear back from us for a year. You're never going to hear back from them again because they just took your money. So just be very careful on what you guys give out over the phone. Yes, ma'am.
I had a friend that had that grandmother call, and she went and got the cards, and the bank even questioned her as to, are you sure you want to do this, and blah, blah, blah. But to make a long story short, by the time she kind of wised up, she hadn't given the numbers. They were going to call her back. she hadn't given them the debit card numbers or the prepaid card
Yeah.
numbers yet. And she called the sheriff's department and they told her, nah, don't be doing that,
Yeah.
you know. Well, she went online, she had gone back to the bank then and tried to get her money from the debit cards or the prepaid cards. And the bank said, you have to do that online. So she went online to try to get her money back out of the green cards, whatever they are. And she got the very first site that she saw that had the debit card or the credit card or whatever it is on there. She clicked on it and it happened to be their website. It wasn't the approved one. And she spent the whole afternoon putting these credit card numbers in there so they got the money. But
Yeah.
as soon as she put them in, they were cashed.
Yeah. And you know,
So I guess you do really have to be on top of things.
it should be a red flag if somebody's wanting you to go do something and then call them back. That should be a red flag.
Isn't the, I thought there was a telephone number that you signed up for, or you called, had to do with, I think, the
So
state.
no call list.
Yes.
It don't work.
Is that no more?
It used to work really good when everybody had a landline, but nobody's got a landline anymore, so everybody's got cell phones. So,
Yeah,
and
I've got a landline and a cell, and we still get
Yeah.
all the sales calls and spam calls through our landline.
yeah.
We just don't answer them.
Or you got to call ID too.
Yeah, if you don't know the call, if you don't know the answer, or if you don't know the phone number calling you, just let it go to voicemail. If it's important enough and it's somebody that's legitimate, they're going to leave you a voicemail, and you're going to recognize their voice too on the voicemail. One of the other scams, I forgot about this one. We're all familiar with Publishers Clearinghouse, right? We've all seen the commercials for years. That's another big scam. You know, somebody will call you up posing to be from the lottery and say, hey, you've just won $20,000 or whatever the amount may be, but you've got to go out and send us $5,000 for taxes, for processing fees. I've never won Publishers Clearinghouse before or the lottery, but I'm pretty sure that if you win the lottery, they take all your fees out of your winnings. You never have to put money up front, so that's a big one to kind of watch out for. Yes, ma'am.
I actually had that happen to me in Virginia, and it was so realistic. This lady spent probably 20 minutes on the phone with me, and telling me, I think that went into every detail, like, do you want to receive your money in your residence? Do you want to put it in the newspaper? You know, what kind of card do you want?
Can you hear her?
Yeah.
Okay, would you repeat what she's saying so everybody can?
She said that this happened to her in Virginia, and the people were really good. They were real smooth about, their delivery.
I'm telling you every single detail. And she was like, write this down because you're going to need it later, and all this. And then she gets to the end, and I was supposed to go to Walmart and Walgreens and get a $750 money order at one and a $749 money order at the other one. And I said, I'm not doing it. But you're going to be getting, this car and this money. And I said, I'm not doing it,
Yeah, the scammers are good at what they do. I mean,
And then just recently, probably 3 times in the last couple of weeks, I got an email from Dell that my debit card didn't go through. Well, last year I had 10 debit cards because I kept getting fraud on the debit card. So, I called Dell. Well, at first I called the police department, and they said there wasn't anything they could do about it. So I called Dell, and told them, because they wanted the computer set to Arizona. They had my name, but my name and address for the billing, but the shipping was my name and another address in Arizona. So anyway, I called Dell and we just canceled the order. And then I got one from PayPal, an email from PayPal. It didn't say who the vendor was or anything, but and they said the charge went through, which I knew it had $800 and some dollars. And it had a number on there to call. And I looked back to my, PayPal account. That was not the number. And then almost immediately after that, I got another one from PayPal. Kind of same thing, was a different charge and everything.
Yeah, I mean, they're good at what they do. I mean, the $3.1 billion that they made in 20,000 or in 22, that's a lot of money. You know, I mean, that's worldwide. And unfortunately, like I said earlier, a lot of that stuff is coming from foreign countries, and us to prosecute them and hold them accountable sometimes it's hard to do.
Yeah, it kind of aggravates me that, you know, like even Dell, it's like, we'll just cancel the order. I mean, those people get nothing
Mm-hmm.
for what they do.
Yeah, and a lot of times, you know, if you do get scammed, a lot of banks and credit card companies are good enough to stop those charges and reimburse you, so you're really not out anything. It's the, you know, the prepaid cards or wiring money somewhere. Those are the ones that get a lot of people. Yes, sir. You had your hand up.
I haven't come on Messenger. Are they scamming in Messenger?
They do just about everything. I mean, they're good at what they do. $3.1 billion is a lot of money.
Keep using a bigger hook.
Yeah.
It'll lead you on. It'll lead you with all kinds of things like people at Walmart, they'll say you want this money at Walmart, but when you finally just, even Messenger though, that's supposed to be a safe, only you. But they're getting in there trying to get you to talk to them.
Uh-huh.
You know, I've seen them do that several times.
If it's too good to be true, don't believe any of it.
Everybody's gonna get hacked. You can't get away from that hacking, they're just doing it.
Yep.
Well, with
Yep.
Messenger, they use people that you know.
Yeah.
You know, they'll send you a message like, you know, hi, this is so-and-so, how you doing? And then they say, have you heard about, you know, and it's like, and I've said, you know, I'm sorry, you're a fraud.
Yeah.
I got one more question.
You go ahead, sir.
If you make a buy like on Amazon or something like that, and someone wants to come to your house, can you come to the police station and make that like if I buy it?
So like if you buy something off eBay and you want to go to some
Yeah.
safe place, yeah, we actually have
You know,
places.
They give out phony $20 bills. You
Yeah.
know, they don't carry a marking pencil or else if it's good. There's a lot of phony money out there.
There's a lot of places around the county. I think most of the small towns, we put some signs up last year that if you do like e-commerce kind of stuff and you're buying and selling stuff, you can meet in a safe place that's video recorded to do the transactions.
Can you come to the police station?
Yeah, you can come down to the sheriff's office. Yeah.
I am with Bill Fletcher.
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
I know that you can go on to annualcreditreport.com once a year, and you get a free credit report to make sure that no one has got your social security number to see and make sure that they haven't taken over your identity. So it's,
Even that, or Credit Karma.
yeah, well, annualcreditreport.com is free. Some of them
So
charge. Okay. Yeah, so that's.
And then there's services out there. The one I think of, LifeLock. We see a lot of commercials on TV for that. You know, you can pay them a fee and they protect your identity. You know, I've actually worked a couple cases where the guy actually had LifeLock, and they protected him. So it's kind of an insurance policy.
Yeah.
They did or did not protect.
They did.
They did, yeah. But again, you got to pay a fee for that. I'm not a spokesman for LifeLock, but it's probably.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, you see it on the TV all the time. So, yes, ma'am.
2 weeks ago, my American Express called me and they said, did you book a flight with Southwest? And I said, no. And they said, well, we're making sure it's you. And I said, I've just booked thousands. I booked with United, I booked a cruise for Hawaii. It's just in the last week. I said, why are you just questioning me about Southwest? Well, they didn't question me about all the others. And all she said is, we have a way of knowing, you know, what is going on. And I said, no, I didn't book with Southwest. So they took that off my bill and they said, quit using that card. And they said, no.
Yeah, and a lot of times with your credit card companies and your banks, you can set up like a daily credit limit. Like if it's more than $400, you know, you have to call the bank and actually verify, hey, I'm going to go buy a new washing machine today. I need to up my limit just for today, and that'll keep the scammers from getting large amounts of money from you guys.
There's also, on our Chase cards, we have an option, and we opted for it. Anytime we make a purchase, we get a notice over a set amount.
Mm-hmm.
We get a notice right away, so you can call them, and they're good to work with you. But my question is this, like we have Norton security on our computer, but we get every once in a while, it'll flash up in the corner of the screen that our name has been found on the dark web. Well, what do we do about it?
I mean, that's,
You know, we've got a freeze on our credit, so nobody can open up a line of credit or anything like that on our, under our names and social security numbers. But what else can you do?
there's not a whole lot. That's just Norton letting you know that it's out there. I mean, I would venture to say everybody in this room probably has their information out there at some point. It's just the level of security that you have for your stuff needs to be the highest that it can be, and they can't get you if your stuff's secured is easy. I mean, they still can do it because, you know, they're criminals and they got $1.3 billion, so they're good at it. But just protect yourself the best that you can when it comes to credit cards and your debit cards.
Well, the freezes work good because they can't open a credit card or anything like that under our name, but it is kind of a pain if you want to do something.
Yeah.
You got to unfreeze it.
Yep.
So, might be a good budget tool.
Yes, ma'am.
I was just gonna say, I've had experience with the PayPal thing as well. I get those, and it was like to somebody for some crazy amount, and I'm like, I just ignore it or delete it. I don't even open them because I know I didn't do it. And then my husband, he called me. He had one a couple years ago, about 2 years ago, that called him from like Texas. It was in Texas. They said they were from the FBI and all this kind of stuff. Someone had rented an apartment in his name. There was a murder. There was a murder scene in that apartment, and all this kind of stuff. And he's like, no, because they asked him a couple things that yes, some of his information, and then they asked him, something, then they told him about this, and then tried to send him to Walmart to get these debit cards, and you had to hurry up and pay that, or they were going to be on their way to get him, and all of this, and the guy was like, well, I don't have time to do that right now. He's like, there was something. He said, well, I'll stay on the phone with you. So like when you were saying they were giving the person all the steps to do, yeah, he was going to stay on the phone the whole time he traveled to Walmart, did the purchase and all of this. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. But that was, really scary that, I'm implicated in some murder and that kind of thing. So,
Yeah. They'll use outlandish scenarios just like that, like, hey, this is a big deal. We got to take care of it now. So I always tell people, just, we all get a gut feeling that something's not right. And if you get that gut feeling, go ask somebody. Go ask a family member, hey, I just had this phone call. What do you guys think? The internet is full of good and bad information out there. You can always go there and find stuff. Just ask somebody, their opinion about it. Because if you both have a bad feeling about something, it's probably a bad situation to get involved in.
If you haven't seen the movie Beekeeper, I suggest you see that movie. It's about scams.
Are you talking about this? She said that she got a phone call, or her husband got a phone call from the FBI down in Texas that somebody was killed at a house that was rented in their name, and they needed them to go to Walmart and buy some credit cards. So they get pretty crazy. I mean, $3.1 billion, they get pretty creative on ways to get you. Yes, sir.
They put everything on the internet. My grandson, he moved from downtown Indianapolis because the rent wasn't higher, and he bought a house on the east side of Indianapolis. I went in there yesterday to find out where his block was at, where he lived in there. Man, they showed that house, what was sold for, what he paid for. They show pictures of the rooms inside of the house. They give you the exact location of where you live and everything.
Yep.
I thought that's private information.
It's all out there.
Man, I've seen so much about, I didn't even know about my grandson. I mean, I just kind of got a history of what he paid for his house and all that stuff. That's all locations, all
Yep.
in there.
It's all public record.
I know it.
Yes, ma'am.
What if you got somebody at home that answers the phone and gives them some information, but when it comes to his social security number or Medicare number, he cusses at them. And then they call us back and cuss him and play with him.
You can always call local law enforcement. Whether if you live out in the county, you can always call the sheriff's
But my
office.
husband won't stop answering the phone.
So is it a cell phone?
No, it's a landline.
Landline? Okay.
He will not stop answering that phone, and he will not him. That's him.
Yeah.
Says he's doing things to the.
Is it the same phone number every time?
No, it's
It's a
all
different.
different.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, sometimes you just got to let a sleeping dog lie, and then, just leave it there, and it'll stop. Yes, sir.
I got a phone call from Chief Police down in Texas one time, and he said my granddaughter's in jail, that her lawyer's gonna call me. When he called, and I said, well, I know the police chief here in Marion, and he knows the police chief down in Texas, and he'll see what you can do. Click.
Yeah. I mean, you challenge them sometimes, and they'll just hang up on you, which,
He did.
yeah.
They play with my husband. Oh, God.
And my dad gets telemarketer calls all the time, and I say, just don't answer them, because if you don't answer them, you kind of start falling off their call list.
Yeah, but he won't.
And yeah, some people are just hard-headed.
Very much.
Anybody have any more questions or anything? I will say, if you guys do become a victim to a scam, call your local law enforcement agency. We'll come out. We'll do the best that we can to help you guys out. And even if you do get a phone call and you realize, hey, this is a scam, again, call your local law enforcement agency. That, if it's a city or the county or a gas city or whatever, that way we can know about it. Because we have 44 deputies from the sheriff on down on the department. We can't be everywhere at every time. And a lot of times we don't know stuff's going on until people tell us about it. So if something happens to you, help the rest of your citizens out in the county, so we can put a press release out. Hey, this scam's going around. Don't fall for it. So.
Is your number still 668-8168?
That'll get you to central dispatch. Even if you live, that was always the county number when we had our own county dispatch. If you live in the city and you still dial 668-8168, you're going to get dispatch, and they're going to get you to the right person in dispatch, because they're all in the same room now. So, yeah.
I got that number built in up there.
911 always works too. If it's an emergency, 911 works too. So, yes, sir.
Well, I thought they said at one time that if someone calls up, gives you, is this your name, address, and that, you say yes, then they can sit there and transfer that over. You end up buying something that you don't know, so you don't say, yes, it's your address.
Yeah, that's another scam.
So maybe it is, maybe it's not.
Depending on like
Don't say yes.
how you have your credit card and that kind of stuff set up. Sometimes if you make those larger purchases, they need your yes to verify things, so they'll record you saying yes. Yes. So, go ahead.
Also, if somebody's in there with selling something, like something in your driveway now, does the city, do they have to have a permit?
They're supposed to have a permit. If you're in the city and somebody's like door-to-door salesmen, they're supposed to have a permit.
You can ask them for it?
Yeah. Gas City. Deputy Haley used to work Gas City, so Gas City has the same thing. We get a lot of phone calls out in the county where people are going around door to door selling stuff, and I've always told the people when we interact with them, somebody calls in, we go find them at a house or whatever. We always tell the reputable companies that are trying to actually sell stuff, whether it's used to be encyclopedias. Nobody knows what encyclopedias. We'd always say to these companies, hey, when you come into the county, call dispatch and give them your information. Hey, I'm driving this car. I'm going to be in this part of the county today. That way, if somebody calls in, hey, this car was at my neighbor's, I think it's suspicious, they can say, oh, they've already kind of registered with us. The county doesn't have any ordinances requiring that, but we always tell people it's a good idea to call and let us know where you're going to be, so we're not running around chasing them all day long. Yes, sir.
So if a little girl comes up the door selling cookies, or they say...
Well, the Girl Scout cookies are different.
Also, there is a website that, you have all these squatters coming in.
And I said,
We're in that statement
I didn't
on
know
some
where they
paper.
were kids.
You can register with the county office. We had someone,
Property
claim property
Till
fraud,
last day, I can
and it's
claim
free,
that
and
back.
it's in
I
Grant
didn't
County,
know
and you need
that.
to, we got a call, name was pretty
I'm
similar, we called
If
the
my kids send me
recorder's
something,
office and
mafia
went
watching
down
them,
past
they
that.
come in, they usually
That's
send
something
them
that's,
corporate
you need to check with the city, because it will protect you if someone trying
Yeah,
to
go to the
do something
recorder's
with your
office.
deed and that.
I've never heard of that one.
You haven't heard of that one? Where people take out a loan on your house.
Oh, yes, yes, they're
You know, they
trying to get your
somehow
property
get
from,
the
yeah.
deed transferred into their name and then they go and get a loan and you don't know about it.
Yeah,
And then until they go defunct on the mortgage, and by that time, you're in arrears and they put a lien on your house. You didn't even take out the money.
yeah.
So you can sign up at the recorder's office or online, give them your information, and if anything changes on your property, they contact you.
We had one call.
And it wasn't a month. I was a little leery about doing it, but it was in the Indianapolis paper.
Well, it's in Marion now, but, you know, it is a good.
And a month after we signed up, we got, about a month or 6 weeks, we got a notice that somebody had taken out
The
a
loan.
loan. And so I called the recorder's office and they checked it and they said, you're okay. The name was a little bit different than ours. But they notified us and I was thankful. Only took a couple minutes and it could have turned out differently.
Yeah. Again, they took $1.3 billion, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
They get very creative in the ways they try to get money. Yes, ma'am.
On Facebook, I got from Texas Roadhouse where I could get 2-3 meals for it's going on for the next 10 days or something like that. So I put my email and my name in there. Then when I did that and said next, it wanted my address and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they're not gonna do that to you.
And yeah, that's what he just said.
An email address
And never got
might
any.
be there for verification, but they're not gonna wanna know where you live at.
See, I kind of thought the email address was maybe when I went to get to the restaurant that I would need to show them that. But when they started, wanting my name and address and all this kind of stuff, then I didn't put that in yet. I was gonna ask somebody first.
You can always call Texas Roadhouse and let them know about it too, because again, they might, they don't wanna be a victim of all that stuff going on too.
They don't wanna get a bad name.
Yes, they don't wanna get a bad name.
They might give you a free for that.
Let's give them a round of applause, guys.